officials in Kerr County facing more and more questions about their response to the warnings about the risk of severe flooding. Some pointing the finger at the National Weather Service, saying the forecast failed to predict such heavy rainfall. Now, we know the agency did issue a series of alerts. We've showed you this timeline starting in the afternoon, July 3rd, accelerating starting around 1 in the morning on the 4th. This disaster in Texas also raising questions about DOJ and cuts made to the National Weather Service, which led to the departures of key staff members. The Austin-San Antonio Weather Service office, they're warning coordination meteorologists who organizes alerting the outside world about agency forecasts, took a buyout in April. So that's one thing to talk about, and we'll discuss it in more detail with an incident response meteorologist in Texas who's set to join us in a few minutes. But first, we have NewsNation's Alex Caprariello, an inside look today, okay, at what they actually do at the National Weather Service at a forecast office in Illinois, and joins us now. All right, what can you tell us? What perspective can you add to this, Alex?
Well, look, we've had some inclement weather here in central Illinois, some off-again, on-again showers, some sunlight right now, but it wasn't all that long ago that we saw this massive thunderstorm roll through this area. So certainly here in this area, severe weather threat is something that we're all monitoring. But luckily for the folks out here, there's people, professionals, that are doing that 24/7. Let me show you what I mean. This is the National Weather Service Chicago office. They're responsible for a lot of Illinois, also parts of Indiana and Iowa. And get this, there's about 122 offices just like this all across the country. Think New York, Los Angeles. In the case of Kerr County in Texas, that was the San Antonio office. And they really have professionals that sit in operation centers just like this, day in and day out, monitoring all the conditions in the atmosphere, in the air, to make sure that people are aware of severe weather when it happens. So take, for example, this here is Lee. You can see, we all noticed those monitors, those screens, a lot of radar activity. He's looking at the latest trends. And actually, just about an hour ago, we watched him actually send out an alert to the greater Chicagoland area about heavy wind gusts. All right. National Weather Service Chicago here. This here is Jake. Every hour on the hour, he's actually providing virtual briefings to public safety officials, giving them an idea of what it looks like live data. So think public safety managers as well as police, fire, EMS. And the key here is about being prepared. These folks have to be prepared for everything that they're seeing, but also the folks there on the ground, the people just like you at home, making sure that you have a plan in place just in case severe weather strikes. Take a listen.
And once we get to the warning stage, that could be anywhere from a few minutes to, maybe about an hour or so, just depending on how storm's evolving, how likely the threat is, and how significant it might be.
Is it difficult to make those calls in that moment to know, oh my gosh, it is time to elevate this to a warning?
We're always looking at the data for what storms are doing, what the atmosphere is doing, and how all that's going to come together, taking in reports. So it's a continuous cycle for us.
Weather doesn't turn off when the sun goes down, and you have to make sure that something's going to, wake you up if it's a risk to you wherever you might be and whatever the weather hazard might be.
And obviously, this is a major responsibility that the folks at the National Weather Service have, whether it's here in Chicago or down in Kerr County, Texas, where we saw that flash flooding just come out of nowhere. And I asked them if the gravity of their responsibility weighs on them. And they really responded quite professionally, saying that this is something that they're all so passionate about, that they care about what they do. They care about protecting life and property. That's the reason why they're monitoring forecast centers like this 24/7, so that way they can pay attention to the conditions, send out those watches when needed, sending out those warnings when it really becomes an elevated threat for the people all across America.
Yeah, I think, Alex, one of the things we've been talking about here is lessons learned from tragedies like the one we're covering in Texas. Anything that you would add to that from the people you're talking to there in terms of maybe communication between what they're doing, what people locally on the ground are doing, or anything else?
Well, what's interesting is that when a severe weather threat happens, especially ones that can be tragic or devastating, there is a full look at what happened, what the policies were and procedures were, to see if there are improvements that can be made. And, speaking to the folks here at the National Weather Service, it's all about planning and then practicing it, putting it into action, so that way when something happens, you actually know what to do and you're able to do it quickly. So I think, especially when it comes to communications between the National Weather Service and the public officials out there, it's making sure that those channels of communication are steady, that people know how to get the information that they need, and that way when they do get it, when it is sent out, the plan is already in place, you've already practiced it, now it's time to just go act.
All right, Alex, good stuff and important reporting on the National Weather Service, which we've talked a lot about.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.